We're still like a minute early, but it don't matter. And 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, it's John at Ubaldi Reports, the podcast that provides fact, not fiction, on issues impacting America, whether overseas or here domestically. And normally we do, and we talk about issues regarding political issues, whether at the national or international level.
And we will.
But this one we're going to start a little different. We're going to talk about issues, the cost of doing business. And the reason I bring that up is I talked to a lot of small business owners, and they talk about the various costs. Most people know, I work a full-time job, and I had to go to the bank for my employer, and there was a person next to me dropping his receipts off right after the Super Bowl. And we started to talk, and he's a small business owner, so I asked him, how did business go? And he goes, it was pretty good, but not as good as past years. And I go, what's the reason for that? Well, there's more options now. You got DoorDash, you got various food delivery services that you didn't have a few years ago. But then we started talking. I mentioned California, starting April 1st, is going to raise the minimum wage for fast food workers to $20 an hour. And he says if that happened here in Florida, that would put him out of business.
Well, also going into what you were saying, like $20 an hour, and we also see how the crime rate is going with California and stuff like that. It almost seems like California is just trying to push out whoever. Well, because there's going to be another mass exodus, especially there's going to be businesses that can't afford $20.
Well, there already is a mass exodus, and then there was a Senate debate where you had Barbara Lee, a Democratic congresswoman from Oakland. Then you have Adam Schiff, everybody knows who he is, and then you have Katie Porter, another congresswoman from, I believe, Southern California. And they were debating, and then you had Steve Garvey, the Republican challenger, because in California, the two top vote getters will go at it with each other. So Adam Schiff is trying to get Steve Garvey to be to get second place, so then he'll presumably win. But in that debate, Barbara Lee, who's kind of down in the polls, she said that she wants to raise the minimum wage to $50 an hour because that's a livable wage. And she stated some statistic that came off the United Way saying even if you make over $100,000 a year, that's still poverty wage.
Okay, it might be a little bit funny. I don't know how much I make an hour, but I know I don't make. I know I don't make $50 an hour, and I would say we live pretty well. But if it wasn't for my retirement, it would be a different
situation.
It would be a different situation if it wasn't for my military retirement. So, is $50 an hour actually enough, or is it maybe you would be? I would think maybe I just might be more budget conscious.
Well, but see, the thing is, what Barbara Lee didn't realize, or I'm sure she realizes it, and all the candidates realize this. They talk about a living wage, but California does everything to prevent people from making a livable wage. Like their housing issues, they're short housing, but the demand is up. And the reason is the government, the state, the local, the city, the counties, all put undue burdens on the developer to make low income and moderate income homes. Mm-hmm. It's just not cost effective.
So I heard an interesting statistic. Maybe you might like this too. So just say you were John Ubaldi was making $5,000 a day.
Okay.
You're making $5,000 a day. How long would it take for you to be a billionaire? If you're making $5,000 a day.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, you would have to have started when Columbus discovered America to today in order to be you'd be close to being a billionaire, but you wouldn't be a billionaire quite yet. But you would have to start in 1492
to become a billionaire.
We're getting $5,000 a day. I think I possibly see that in a month.
Okay, but here's the point. What they don't realize is just like when I talked to this business owner at that bank, and then yesterday and today, a business owner came in. He and his brother set up a small little steakhouse. It's not large. It's not like it's a Ruth Chris, but it's a steakhouse nevertheless. And he told me that his biggest expenditure is labor. It's labor, rent, insurance, legal fees. And then he told me today his utility costs have skyrocketed the last 2 years. This is before he even puts a piece of steak on the grill to serve it to his customers. Then you've got all the other hidden costs that play into that. And this is what people don't get. And 65% of all businesses in America are small business between 0 and 50. Now, Kevin O'Leary from the Shark Tank, and he's an investment, he's been coming out critical of the Trump fraud case. But nevertheless, he said, and I've seen this before, not just from him, from other economists, small business owners are having a difficult time trying to secure loans for future expansion of their business or to start up. Now, you've got a startup business.
Yeah, they're going to have to kind of, like, I guess for beginning small businesses, it's not like we learn the hard way, but, I mean, there's a lot of trial and error there. So, with us, you need to find either one in a capital investment group that are kind of on board with your vision. And if you have your shit together, it makes it a lot easier for them to sign on with you. Or you just need to find a single investor. A lot of the times, banks will invest in a small business, but they'll make it so difficult to make you jump through so many hoops that they want you to quit before getting there. But then if you do get to the finish line, they're going to be like, okay, well, here's the terms, here's the percentage, here's this, and that. All these kind of like
restrictions.
All these stipulations and restrictions. So they're making it very, very difficult for like a small business where if anybody, I would say starting a small business, the first thing you do is, it was kind of simple. Like you start, like I heard this guy on TikTok. He's like, start an LLC, put some money down to get started, and then find somebody to give you money to start that business.
But see, but then there's two different types of business. There's a product. You have a product. You're trying to sell that product to other people, and then there's a service business. Like when I started mine was a little different. I do a media news and publishing company. I like politics. I left a consulting firm, a political consulting firm in California because I didn't like the direction they were going. And so I thought I'd go out in the workforce. And because I was a reservist, this is at the time of the Iraq surge, nobody was hiring reservists because they knew that you were going to get activated. Then when we had the Afghan surge, the same thing played in. So then I thought, let me just start my own business. But I never started a business. I mean, I did everything, got all the paperwork, got everything done. Mine was online, so I didn't really need a physical building. But then I joined up with a group or a marketing company, and what I paid for, I didn't get. So I lost $25,000 right off the bat.
Wow.
And that really stung. So I had to go back and regroup, and it's been a struggle ever since. So now I know your business is a little different. Yours is more of a product, because you have a product and a service.
Well, we provide products and service at the same time. So,
but it's still difficult to go out as a startup.
But it's like the number 3 product and service that people want.
True, but I mean, but also you're trying to get loans and capital, and just because you're a startup, it's difficult. Now try being you're in business now, and then you've maybe a couple of years ago, let's say up until 2021, interest rates are about 2%. Well, now interest rates are what, 7 or 8%?
And for businesses, you would be looking at anywhere between 10 to 14%.
So try being a small business and trying to get in a loan between 11 and 14%. It's very difficult. And then you've got all the unhidden issues, like these two individuals that own restaurants. They're raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour, I think by 2026 in Florida. California is up to $16, and now just for fast food workers, not everybody else, just for fast food, they want to go to $20 an hour.
Yeah.
And then there's a proposition on the California ballot, I think in this November, they want to put a board together which will determine what a fast food owner can do and not do at their restaurant.
Yeah.
So why would you be a business owner and be in there? Remember during the pandemic, how many businesses were forced to close?
Mm-hmm.
No fault of their own, but this business was allowed to stay open.
So fortunately for us, like in our business, like the owners are going to take on their own certain responsibility. So, and then basically the buzz we're getting off of Facebook is like they can't wait for us to start our hiring process. But our hiring process is one, there's only going to be 2 full-time employees, and I'm looking at one right now.
Well, thank you.
And then the other process is part-time. So part-time, you're going to be saving yourself a lot because one, you don't have to pay health insurance, and then you're kind of cutting their hours, and then you can reduce benefits as long as you don't break that 38-hour mark. So that's how we're looking at it. But we're also going to put a lot more. So like just say minimum 15 people. Maximum, we're probably gonna go 20, 25 people, and we're gonna get that because it's like, hey, how old are you? Well, I'm at retirement age. Okay, well, we're not here to give you enough money. We're not gonna give you enough money to make it to
there's no
for it
way.
to be a career. But this is gonna be a nice little hobby for you. You know, you can come out. You know, you can. You know, go be on part of sales, or you can be an RSO, or you can work in the back.
Correct.
Stuff like that. So this is kind of like, I would say this is like your hobby job. This is just like, hey, I'm going to work at a gun store. This is going to be fun.
But this is what a lot of businesses are having to do. I was reading stuff in California. A lot of businesses are having to reduce hours.
Mm-hmm.
There may not be hiring in more employees. Or if you're trying to raise the standard of living at fast food, what about the sit-down restaurants? They're not paying $20 an hour for their workers.
Yeah.
So many of those workers may migrate over to the $20 an hour field, and you're going to have a lot of automation, or you're going to see a lot of businesses.
Well, they're doing that right now at Walmart. They cut their cashiers down to maybe 2 to 3 total, and all they're doing is going up and down the line, monitoring the people doing self-checkout, making sure that they're doing it correct. They might have a lane open every once in a while, but other than that, they've taken about maybe 10 to 15 cashiers, reduced it down to 5.
And this is the cost. Everybody looks at business as the Amazons, the Walmarts, the Targets, the big corporate America business. Corporate America kind of likes regulations, not because they want it impacting their business, but by regulation, it drives out the small business.
Well, think about also
the innovators.
From our point of view or our perspective, we need security. You know, we need a high security, and initially just to get all the equipment in there is like $20,000.
But this is the thing is, and if you listen to people say, well, you need workers. Okay, got it. But okay, let's say the workers, they come into work for you, but they haven't put anything into the pool. Now, there was a friend of mine out in California. I know I mentioned California because that's where I came from. During the last recession, the 2008-09 recession, he had a very viable landscaping, architecture type business. Mm-hmm. His business went broke. Because once the recession hit, and there was really deep recession, the deepest one we've had since the 81 to 82 recession, a lot of people looked at it. Oh, I do my own gardening. I can't afford this. They had to cut. So he went broke, but he still had to pay his employees. He had to trade equipment off to his employees. So people don't realize it. Like it's just like my business and your business. You can set up your business, do everything right, and let's say your business just doesn't make it. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, does not make it. What happens to all the money you put into it? You lose it.
Yeah.
When I set my business, if it doesn't make it, no matter what I did, it just can't seem to get over that hump.
Yeah.
I lose everything I put into it. Now, luckily, I don't have employees, but all the money I forget the time, all the money I put into it, you don't get that back. Now, let's say you start your business, you hire employees, and let's say for whatever reason you just couldn't make it, you had to shut the doors. All your employees can file for for unemployment insurance.
Yeah.
You can't.
Mm-hmm.
And all the money that you put into it, beyond the loans you got, then it depends how you structured your business. You have to pay that loan back.
Yeah.
So
we're just very fortunate to be in a an industry that we're going into that you really, really, really have to like mess up in order to kind of fail at this.
But then again, you're in a state that is very pro business for what you guys do.
Yeah.
I had people I know out in California go to New York and other states, and we deal with a lot of companies from other states, and the rules and regulations you have to go for. Like we have people ship things down from New York and New Jersey. The things they have to go through is just, it's strange and bizarre that we don't have to do that here in Florida, and we're lucky on that. But again, no matter what business, like those two gentlemen I mentioned earlier, they're restaurant owners. The restaurant business has no more than a 3% profit margin. And if you look during the pandemic when they shut all these business down, a lot of these businesses weren't set up, especially the sit-down business. Now, maybe the bigger sit-down outlets, maybe they're a little bit better, but like I was telling this one gentleman who owns that steakhouse, when he did it, you had to buy all the utensils, all the paper products, all the cardboard products that you put the meals in, be able to do like a DoorDash or what's the other one? Grubhub, whatever it's called, but you still are not going to be making what you make because you're not set up for that. That wasn't how you were set up.
So let me talk about something that just kind of came to mind is environment versus like pay. So let's just say our business is, we're just going to pay minimum wage, but if it's a good, positive, and fun environment to go to, I mean, does that really matter if you're making 12 to 14 bucks an hour? I mean, say you used to work at Chick-fil-A. Okay. If it was a little bit more like positive and interested in what John is trying to do, you got along with the guys well in
Correct.
there. You got along, you probably had to like take orders from a teenager every once in a while like that. But
part of the job.
But like if it was like a good environment, would you maybe look past like $1 difference if it meant another job?
You're correct. I would think most people, pay is great. Everybody wants to make money so you can live.
Yeah.
Okay. And they were paying me decent, but not enough for that I could, live off of. And I had to stay with a roommate on all that stuff. But at the same time, had they, I liked everybody. We got along great. We had a blast when we were working in the back. I worked in the kitchen, so I had fun. Sometimes you're willing to take that pay cut because the working environment is very conducive to your lifestyle or what you want to do.
Yeah, like the job you work at now is more conducive to actually what you're going to be doing here with us later.
And I like the job I do. I like the employees. We have a blast. We joke, we laugh, we fight, but we laugh. We have more fun than anything. And I like the customers that we deal with, but it's not going where I need to go because when I work with you, I can do the marketing and public relations that I can't do here because it's more of a corporate and they have a different way of philosophy. With you guys, I can just present it to you, go.
Yeah,
and I don't have to send it all the way up to the corporation for approval.
And you also have a better peace of mind knowing that when the company grows and the company, like, kind of like with me too, of owning my own business, is that like, if I'm working for a corporation or like an entity, I can only make so much.
Correct.
And no matter how hard I work, I'm kind of plateaued. But if I'm at a job and it's conducive of whether if I succeed, I make more money. If I fail, I make less money. And you're kind of in that same area too, that the better this business does, the more opportunity and more chances of me getting more incentive out of it.
No, but you make a good point. The job I'm at now, I like what I do. I like the customers. I like the employees, but I'm tapped out. I'm not going to make any more than I'm making now. Working for you, and most people I would think fall into this category. A number of years ago, I worked for a small startup company. But then as I started to work with them, when they first sold me, it was like, you're not going to make a lot right now, but we really will make more as we go along. But
Yeah, but that's a risk you have to take
I
with
know,
a
but
startup as well.
and that was a risk I had to take. But then when I started to work for them, I realized that they were not managed correctly.
Yeah.
It was a very poorly managed business, and it hurt the company. With you guys, even though you're getting started, you'll be opening up very shortly. Some of the things I presented to you, almost every time I said something, you were like, that's the way to go. We want to go that way.
Yeah.
There was only 1 or 2 times, and I'm fine with that. When I present something, let's don't go there quite yet. We're not quite there ready yet.
No, I know what you're talking about.
But I
We're almost there, but because I think another thing when it comes to like business and new business too is that you just want to do it all. And a lot of the things that I'm telling the guys now, especially because it's me and 3 other owners, and there's 2 that are a lot younger than us, is that, we can do this, and 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 we can do this. And I'm like, yes, we can.
But not now.
But not now. Kind of.
Because I've been there. When I started my business, I was told, join this group, join that group. So I was joining all these groups, and I was wasting a lot of money. And then when I went with that marketing firm, I thought that was my big in, and that didn't pan out. So I agree with what you're saying, and I listen to what you guys say, and they're much younger than me. There's things that they want to do, but it's got to be done in stages. And this is what people need to understand with business. When you go to work, it's like, okay, take your job at the post office. When you go to work, you do your postal job, you deliver the mail. But when you leave the post office, your job's over. I never even heard you talk about the post office unless we mention it. Most people go to a 9-to-5 job like that.
Yeah.
But when you're a business, even for what I do, I do a media publishing company. I write about politics. I study it. I'm always looking at something. When an article comes up that piques my interest, I want to cover that, I jot it down and I'll cover it later. I'll write about it later. A business is 24/7.
Yeah.
There is no day off. Even if you have a day off, you're always thinking about.
Well, we'll go into a second, but it says handsome Boston Tea Party president. Nice name, buddy.
Yeah, good.
Give me a strong crew, and I will make them professional. So, I think it's all about the guys you work with too. And
that person, was it Boston?
Boston Tea Party president.
Boston Tea Party president is correct. You want a good crew, a good team to work around you. But that also comes in with management when you hire people that, granted, the people you've hired now, but there's going to be a time when you start to grow the business, you're going to have to bring in people from outside. And that's why you really got to dial into who you hire. Yeah. Because certain business, like when I worked at fast food, there's just a revolving door. Mm-hmm. They would bring in something that doesn't work. They got people coming in all the time. I think when I got there, not to toot my horn, I don't think they were reluctant to hire me, one, because of age, and the other reason was because I was a veteran. They thought I wasn't going to take orders from a woman. The one woman who did interview me was in the National Guard. She said, no, he's good. And I told them, you hire me, I will work harder than anybody here.
That's the cleanest those pots and pans have ever been in that area.
One of the first time
the food tasted different because they were so clean.
The first time they told me to wash the dishes, they just said 3 sinks: wash, rinse, sanitize. Well, they have these 6 rectangular things that they cook the eggs in. So I did it like we do in the Marine Corps. Yeah. I scrubbed those things till they were shining. So the next day I had the day off. Well, the workers came in the morning. They're like, to the kitchen man, hey, did we get new utensils? And they were like, no, John just scrubbed them. So the next day they go, what the hell did you do? I washed the dishes like you told me to. Yeah. You don't have to clean them that well. Nobody does that.
But that's also like another thing. Like, once again, going back to handsome Boston Tea Party president, it is about your crew, and that's what I like about Ray, Sarah, Cody.
You got a good crew.
That, including myself, I might be like the old man or the leader of the guys. And look, I know I'm not old, but I'm older than everybody else. Yeah. And they take direction well, but they also are independent enough to kind of figure it out. They all have like their
Their niche.
that makes them, which is going to make this successful. And then bringing on like you and Gage, because you guys have certain master of your own craft as well, and you're not going to be prohibited, or you're not. We're going to give you almost a free rein to kind of do what it is, like, you know, like your idea of bringing in the concealed carry yoga pants, you know, bringing also other things like that, and how Gage is going to let us show us how to work gun broker, how he's going to let it show us how to work eBay, all that kind of stuff like that. That's what's going to be our success because of the people that we are working with. And then we're not going to hire just a bunch of random people. We're people that are reaching out to us are more than likely the people that we're going to hire, because, you know, I'm not putting out there something out on Indeed or Monster, like, oh, well, we're looking for people that want to sell guns or want to work on a gun range. No, we're getting people like, I can't wait to work for you. I'm an instructor. I can't wait to do this. When you guys opening?
The other thing is, I learned a lot of leadership, and just where we both came from. For our listeners who don't know, both Joe served 10 years in the Marines and was medically discharged from a wound he served in Iraq.
Combat wounded
veteran. Just to let you know. I did 30 years in the Marines, but people have a misconception what the Marine Corps is like. They think it's like what they see in the movies. Now, to some degree, I got it, but I had a full bird colonel. He was very tight. He was old school, and I was like, oh, crap, here we go. But what he did is he set the direction. He got the best people, put them in their position, and let them do their job. So when we had our meetings, you bring up things, this is what I'm working, it's enough, don't go that direction, go this. Mm-hmm. He allowed you to do your job. It's just like here. You set the direction, and then we all have our niche. Like Cody is great on what he does. Ray's good at what he does.
I think it's just best to be a safety net for each other. You let that person
do their job,
do what they're supposed to do, and you're there as a reserve just in case something happens. Like we have, like if we say all hands for a certain item, that means everybody stops what they're doing and they focus on getting this person's task done. I mean, also like the problem solving that's going on it's great. Like I can.
No, I've noticed you guys bounce things up and see a good business. Now I worked at a couple bad businesses. One, it was at that political consulting firm. They, I thought the owner was really smart because he worked on some high profile national and statewide races that were very prominent. And they won, and I'm like, okay, this guy must know what he's doing. But then over time, I realized he wasn't as bright or not as bright, but he wasn't as smart as he said he was, and he'd made some bad choices. But he didn't utilize his team the way he should.
Yeah,
he listened to one person who would take him to the wrong direction. When I worked for in the private sector, dealing with a regular business, the owner was very shady. I found out later. Did some shady things, but he didn't empower his team. He wanted to control every nuance of the organization. You can't do that.
Well, then that's like
you just can't.
That's what like handsome Boston Tea Party president was talking about. Is the difference between having a boss and having like a leader.
A leader leads, but allows the individual. Like I always, when I was in the Marines, I always allowed my Marines to have a voice of what was going on. Now, granted, I made the decisions, and I had to report those decisions to my superiors. But I remember one Marine gave me the best compliment. We would be in our meetings in the morning, or when we were forming up. Everybody else was in formation. Everybody else out of that meeting came out and they were just screaming at these Marines. I came down, and I pulled the Marines aside, and I said, "Okay, what are you guys working on?" Oh, we're doing this. Okay, I would not go that direction. Let's go here. The new things come up. When you make your Marines work with you, like they have a part to say in that organization, they're going to work harder for you. And there was like the time I came out of Afghanistan. I was remissioned to another command, and it was just horribly managed until these two individuals left.
Yeah,
and they were senior Marines. But what I would do, I would talk to the Marines. I went in this section. They wanted me to yell and scream. And I said, so what do you do? I do this. And one time they were complaining about something. I go, what's wrong? well, they're doing this and they're not letting us do. What would be your solution?
Mm-hmm.
And they would tell me, he goes, that seems logical. Let's do it.
Well, I mean,
That gives them that sense of belonging.
What I like about working with the guys too is that, I mean, we've come across a few problems since taking over the building and stuff like that, and we're looking at it like, okay, what's the hard way, what's the easy way and then basically we would want to be like, okay, what's the accomplishment we want to have.
Correct.
And then we would kind of reverse engineer to see how we could do that. And then, like, you know, if there's too many steps, I will be straight up with you. I'm lazy. I'm really lazy. And if I have to do a job...
Trust me, I come to find that out.
If I have to do a job, I'm going to look at it and try to figure out how I can get the job done in as little steps as possible.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. But going back to the original premise of this podcast is people need to understand running a business isn't easy. Like for myself, there's no guarantee what I like to do is going to work out. I would love to be podcasting, doing videography, talking about issues of the day, but it's hard to get that message out when you're trying to bootstrap it. So if there are any investors out there, let me know. But anyway, most people don't understand what a business owner goes through. It's all consuming. Mm-hmm. Everybody, even my brother said this, oh, you can make a lot of money, which you can. You can make a lot of money.
Yeah.
But at the same time, things can go awry that are beyond your control. Or if you make a bad mistake, you hire the wrong person, or you get the wrong equipment, or you don't do something right, or you don't market correctly. There's a lot of things, or unbeknownst to you, let's say for some odd reason, a Democrat goes back into the White House. Let's say Joe Biden, he decides to go nuts on gun control and eliminate all this stuff. There's things that can hamper your ability to conduct your business. Mm-hmm. And people need to understand it's not easy, and quit looking at the Microsofts, the Googles, the Amazons, all the big corporations. They're corporations. They have connections. Like when Vivek Ramaswamy was in the debates, he chastised his fellow Republicans. You're a tool. You've gotten all this special interest money. I would have asked Vivek Ramaswamy, have you ever called any of your elected officials, any one of them, and spoke with them on the phone?
He would have said yes.
And he said, then you're part of the system.
Yeah.
If you're a small business owner, like I guarantee you, Joe, or myself, if I called my local congressional representative, they're not going to talk to me. They'll take my name down, my message, and that's it.
I think they might talk to us because we're like, hey, guns? And they're like,
But to a political leader, they're going to look at how big is your company and what have you done for me? Mm-hmm. Who have you contributed? And I would ask Vivek Ramaswamy, did you contribute to any political leader's campaign, any politician's campaign? If you have, then you're part of the system.
So, and to kind of reiterate what I was saying to handsome Boston Tea Party president, Jesus, I don't cut corners. I'm not about cutting corners. What I'm doing is I'm trying to, because cutting corners gives you not a shoddy product or a shoddy result.
Or in your business, when you cut corners, it's safety, and you can run afoul of the law because you're selling firearms.
What I'm talking about is we need to figure out what it is that we want to accomplish, and then we go over the process of how to do it. And then we try to just take out unnecessary steps.
Well, here's an example. The one colonel I told you about that I served with, he was by far the best officer I ever served with. And one thing he taught me was 3 things. You do these 3 things, you'll never go wrong. You do things legally, ethically, and morally. You'll never get yourself into problems. And with guns, you have to do things legally, ethically, and morally. There's no cutting corners because even at the gun store that I work at, every year we get audited by the ATF. If you skip, unless you're Hunter Biden, but if you miss a step, if you don't dot your T's and dot your T's and dot your I's, you're going to get yourself, and you're going to get infractions, and you could lose your FFL. Let's say you lost your FFL. That will shut your business down.
Oh, yeah, completely.
So that means you have to hire people who are going to do things ethically, legally, and morally, and not going to cut corners. We had one gentleman that they reluctantly didn't want to bring back because he didn't do some of the things when it comes to the 4473s.
Yeah.
You've got to fill those things out correctly.
And like what you were saying, we're going to have a process. We're going to have an SOP. This is how you're going to do it. And if somebody doesn't do it the way we want them to do it,
you give them a counseling, then a warning, then you say, sorry, this isn't business, it's not
sorry,
for you.
Like if he's, and I like always like, well, this is not how I do it. Well, you're going to not have to do it here anymore. So
that's not the answer we want to hear. I can see we all make mistakes. That's fine. We'll recover. But if it's a willful mistake that you wanted to cut corners, you're not doing it here.
But also, if there's something that we're doing or we put in there that is unnecessary, and that we can go without, but we're still including it, then we could talk about removing it. But I think if we follow a process and we're consistent, because it's like, again, in business, it's all about consistency as well.
It is consistency.
If you're consistent and you're very customer friendly, you're going to be successful. But you have to but if something's off and a customer sees it because something's not right, you're going to lose that customer.
So people need to understand business is not easy. It depends what business you have, but it's very difficult. It's very stressful. I went through a lot of stress trying to get through mine. That's why I had to get a job to at least cover this so I can get this going. Hopefully I can get this restarted again. I see the stress on your guys' face trying to get up and running because you got rent to pay, you got utilities, you got all these other things that are coming up that have to get done, and there's no wiggle room.
I have holes in my stomach.
Yeah, so I mean it's a very challenging time, and I look forward to working with you to expand your business, but at the same time, people need to understand this is what businesses go through, and it depends what business you're in. Some are very heavily regulated, some not so much, some are medium regulated, but each and every time you've got to get it started. And once you get your business started, now you got to get it up and running. Then you got to maintain that business to keep it going. So there's a lot of challenges that you have to go through, and people need to understand it's not easy.
So, John, how can he get a hold of us?
You can get a hold of us by going to ubaldireports@gmail.com. That's ubaldireport@gmail.com. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And before I sign off, let me turn a little bit of time over to Joe to discuss what you probably learned about, but what he's been working on and what's his plans for All American Gunslingers.
All American Gunslingers. That's All American Gunslingers on all social media except for Twitch. It's All American Pew Pew Slingers. But we are just currently waiting for our FFLs. I think we're about 2 to 3 weeks out. We're waiting for some paperwork from the county. Once that's open, we can start getting people in there. We have been spending the majority of just kind of refurbishing, making sure everything looks nice and clean, ready to go. And just adding a few things. And our website should be up in a couple weeks. Can't wait to start giving that out. And follow our page on Facebook. So it's All American Gunslingers on Facebook. And what you do there is, if you heard about it on a show, go ahead. You can give us a message, or you can put it in the comments or something like that of saying that you heard about us on the show. We would like that. John would like that. We just want to make sure that everybody's getting the message. We know there's people out there listening to us. That'd be awesome. So just keep us in mind, and we will talk to you soon.
And keep following Ubaldi Reports. We'll be back next Wednesday at 7:30 Eastern Time. So until then, keep following